course, every 4 or 5 boards, pull out your level, have a look.
Now the level comes out. Every 4 or 5 boards. Interesting. I don't know if a Sawzall is the right tool for this particular job.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
I come at it this way here, line the blade up on the post.
Point it directly at your toes while wearing shorts.
All right, we're gonna try to get most of that product in there.
We're just going to pour it everywhere. A funnel, right? The major problem I have with Jeff showing people how to do fences.
Today's video is brought to you by our good friends over at Nationwide Industries, the Fence Pros' #1 choice. And they are this Fence Pros' #1 choice for a couple reasons. One, we love using their Keystone Traverse latches. They're easy to install. You simply bolt them onto the post. No drilling for rods or cutting the rods required. It's a pretty straightforward installation process. We also love using their full line of galvanized hardware. It shows up quickly and reliably.
All right, guys. If you've been watching the channel, you know this is like the 4th part of my reaction to Jeff's newest video on building a backyard privacy fence with my son, where the motto seems to be, as long as it's cheap and easy, it's for me. What we've got left is he's going to put fence pickets on it, and then he's going to stain it. So let's see.
We're going to introduce the tool of the day here. This is our electric roofing nailer, okay? Coil roofing nails. Here, I can try to show you this without dumping it all over the place. Here we go.
So it's interesting that he's using roofing nails. We've demoed units like this in the past, just battery operated nailers. Typically for fencing, you see like ring shank, frame nails or siding nails sometimes. I've never seen just flat-headed roof nails. Let me know in the comments below. Do you use roofing nails or a different type of nail for finishing your fence?
Where we come from, we use a lot of cedar, a lot of spruce, and both of those trees twist as they grow. So whenever you mill these things, they all got a bit of a curve to them. So if this one's got this kind of a curve and you put it against a fence board,
that is a wild amount of reveal he's left above there. So the reveal being the distance from the top of the 2x4 to the top of the picket. Also is called reveal from the bottom of the bottom 2x4 to the bottom of the picket. This is a ton. 6 to 8 inches seems to be standard. I mean, this looks 12, 14 inches maybe. He doesn't measure anything, or he didn't measure anything on this, which if you watch the beginning video led to him having to move his fence line and shave some holes anyway. Who knows how much reveal there is here, but it is excessive to say the least.
And then you nail the middle down and you nail this down. The tops generally straighten out.
I don't know that I've ever seen a fence picket straighten out. Cedar and redwood, I don't know that I've ever seen one go up a little bit bowed or crooked, and voila, it straightens in the sun. Almost 100% of the times it's been the opposite.
I don't care which way you put your fence on, but be consistent. Okay? Don't go back and forth, or the top of your fence will look like this all over the place.
It's going to do that anyway. As much reveal as what's there, it doesn't matter if he lines them all up the same way or opposite ways. They're absolutely going to look topsy-turvy in probably 6 months.
Grab your board. I like to have the curve going away from me, and then nail the middle.
And we've seen in his previous videos, he has a level. So you would definitely want to level the pickets. Make sure they're plumb, make sure they're level. Kind of wild, you just nail them up as you go. Don't even check it. He's also, I don't know, he might be cutting the top of this to a nice flush top, but not a single one of these picket tops are straight. They're all just stair-stepped and jagged. He's just kind of letting them run with the grade, maybe. It's not a look any of our clients would be happy with. Maybe it's different in his market.
The curve is more important than if you think it's the good side or the pretty side of the board. All right?
No. You absolutely want to take the look of the board into effect, especially if you're doing this as a profession. But I mean, even if you're doing it around your own yard, you want to be consistent about which side of the board is showing. I mean, you want to take pride in this fence when it's done. You want it to look nice. You definitely want to take into account which side of the board is a better looking side.
Of course, every 4 or 5 boards, pull out your level, have a look.
Now the level comes out. Every 4 or 5 boards. Interesting.
Situation like this, not much you can do, okay? I went through a knot in the wood. If I hammer that really tight, all I'm going to do is end up splitting the board, all right? So it's better for me, add another nail, and just either pull it out or leave it the way it is.
I know it's not right, but we're just gonna leave it.
So at least he's not running them right on the ground. So they've got a block they're using. But the top of this fence is going to look, well, I mean, look at the rails. At this point, it probably doesn't matter. Typically, you'd want it to flow with the ground, meaning from post to post, you would see it roll. But to see every picket a little bit different just screams amateur. You know, average cost of a yard fence, at least in our part of the United States, is about $9,500. Would you pay $9,000 or $10,000 for this fence? I think I'd have a very hard time collecting on this for sure. So, see, check this out. Like, there is an absolute high spot, which I'm not even sure why it's a high spot. If you look at the grade seems pretty consistent, and so now there's like a big hole under the fence. Having a consistent top line solves for a lot of these problems. Now, it's not the fastest, easiest, cheapest way, but it does look the nicest when you're done.
I left these about a ½ inch long. Wanted to wait until I got here to find out how it looked, right? Well, as it turns out, that's pretty much flush with the end of my fence.
So it's interesting. He was talking about pulling tags off pickets in one of the other videos, just making sure, to leave a job site nice and tidy. One of the comments in that video made a point like, all right, so he's making a big fuss about all the tags on his pickets, but he's leaving the tags on the end of these 2x4s. Fair point. I don't know if a Sawzall is the right tool for this particular job, but if it's what you have, you're left with an end that just has really jagged cuts. You're also just really tearing up the post, which he's talking about capping it, so you're probably not going to see it. The thing is, you know what's under there.
Wow, okay.
So circular saw is the tool you'd use for this. I mean, it's a nice clean cut, nice finished cut, doesn't get into the post. If you've got one, that's the one to use.
I come at it this way here, line the blade up on the post.
Point it directly at your toes while wearing shorts. I don't know if this is the move I would go for while using power tools. Absolutely no safety apparatus at all, no gloves, no glasses. All right.
Well, here we go. That's fence in a day, give or take. We got another storm coming.
I think in a different video, he said this was like the second day. They finished like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon one day because it was raining, that he didn't get started till 10 a.m. the next day, maybe particularly this day that he's filming now. Not typically a one-day project. Don't count on it taking a day. Have it take maybe several weekends so that you take your time, make sure everything's just right, make sure things like your top looks finished and that you are paying attention to the good and bad side of the boards. Give yourself time to pay attention to the details and it will look great. Don't try to force it or rush it.
In this video, we're going to finish this fence for you. We're going to stain it and add the rock. The difference is we can't actually stain for about 30 days.
So they're using pressure-treated pine. So what he's getting at is they have to wait for the moisture content to get below a certain level. And every stain manufacturer is a little bit different, but typically it's under somewhere around 15%. So he said they're going to wait 30 days, which means he's going to leave this fence out in the sun, in the UV, which is what we're trying to protect against with a solid stain and seal product. Defeats a lot of the purpose. I mean, there's some good research that shows even in the first 10 days, there's a substantial amount of UV damage that will happen to this fence. Leaving it out 30 days to get damaged before you put stain on, it would likely come back to bite him on this project, but add it to the list. There's so many things here that will end up coming back and biting them on this project that this is just one of the many, I would guess.
All right, guys. Now, we're going to go through a couple of quick steps here.
So if you look at the board just behind him, he's already stained a good portion of it. He had said just a minute ago it's probably 30 days later. One of the problems with treated pine is it typically shrinks on itself as that treatment cures, and you're already seeing gapping. The tops of the pickets are already moving quite a bit. This is a section where we talked about the top reveal being like 12 or 14 inches.
All right. We're going to try to get most of that product in there.
We're just going to pour it everywhere. A funnel, right? There's probably a funnel sitting right next to the paint that he picked up or the stain he picked up. Pick up a cheap funnel. Even a paper funnel would be better than just pouring it everywhere.
So that's simple. You throw it in, tighten down your lid, and then you pressurize the contents of the can by pumping it.
And these pump-up sprayers are fine for applying stain. They do produce a good amount of overspray, though. Now, he's just got kind of just greenery behind him. It's a highway behind him, it sounds like. So he's probably not as worried about overspray. If you look at the fence, he's not super worried about the finer details in general.
Oh, sick burn.
He said this is absolutely an acceptable way to apply the stain. You just need to realize that there will be a good amount of overspray when using this.
Just so we're all clear, there is something that happens when you put wood through the mill. They have big blades, the product moves real fast, and it heats up the resin that's in the wood, and you get something called mill glaze. Now, mill glaze is a pain in the butt when you're staining, but when you're using a gray stain and a brush to force it in the groove, you don't have to worry about mill glaze. It's not an issue.
So mill glaze is a bit of a conversation in like the wood staining, painting space, whether it exists or not. But he's operating on the premise that it does exist. But he's saying backbrushing means that you don't have to prep for it, which is a unique view. The idea behind it is that it is making a completely smooth surface. So it's harder for stains and paints or whatever that are penetrating to actually get through. They sit on the surface. Backbrushing doesn't necessarily force it past that mill glaze. You would need to open those fibers up. Those fibers are closed. So you would prep it with a product to open those fibers up and have them be more ready to accept a stain.
Now for your flat surfaces, definitely a light sanding. Add water, open up the grain. Vertical surfaces though, do not take the beating that horizontal surfaces take. Okay? They're a lot tougher. So here we go. We just run in the board. It can get as wet as you want it to get.
A very significant gap. I mean, you can see pretty clearly through there. You would think, I mean, one, this is a fence that they're demoing for a video. Two, it's for his son. If he had upgraded those, just the pickets, I mean, say he left the structure pine, it's not a massive upgrade these pickets to cedar, and it would have been a much better look. He could have pre-stained them, and they wouldn't have gapped nearly as much as they do.
So we want to hit it again. All right? This is the wet on wet. Here we go.
You would want to be a little bit more consistent with your application. I mean, you can see, there's some very obvious wet spots or thicker spots, and there's some thinner spots. Again, take some time, attention to detail. Just make sure you get the coating consistent. The sun's back brushing behind it. We'll see what it looks like with the wet coat on, second coat.
And this product is water soluble, so you can just wash it with cold water and a little bit of hand soap. Okay? And you can do your staining over 2 days if you need to. Here we go.
Granted, this is still wet, but man, this stain seems very inconsistent. I mean, you see some light areas, some dark areas. Again, if I get that this is for his son, but if this was paying work, I don't know that a paying customer would accept this quality.
Thanks for watching. If you like the system and you think it's going to be helpful, give the video a thumbs up and share it with people that you know are thinking about putting in a fence.
This is the dangerous part of this channel. Is if this were a DIY fence, I would say it looks okay. I mean, there's obviously improvements. The major problem I have with Jeff showing people how to do fences, he's trying to teach them, hey, you can do it this way too. What I'm afraid of is he's going to teach a whole generation of people how to build fence completely incorrectly, the cheapest, fastest way. I think it's reckless. I think it'll lead to a lot of people having bad experiences. I can't imagine the other things he teaches people on his channel. If he does it this way, this so lackadaisical with fencing, I can't imagine. I mean, he shows people like electrical and stuff that can be incredibly dangerous. I mean, it's not dangerous. It's just going to look really bad here in a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. Let me know what you would do differently in the comments below. I'd sure like to hear from you guys in the chat. For now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and I'll see you next week.